That made it official, Lynn.
Yay!
Okay, everybody, we want to call the meeting to order and welcome you to Remotery, as Marty Allen has dubbed this, and I think it's brilliant, and I'm sharing it all over the world, by the way, Marty. People know that it's your term and that they think it's pretty cool too. We will start with our weekly devotional, and I kind of thought this was appropriate. You be your own judge, I guess, but it talks about why we're here. Rivers don't drink their own water. Trees don't eat their own fruit. The sun doesn't shine to itself. Flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We're all born to help each other, no matter how difficult it is. Life is good when you're happy, but much better when others are happy because of you. There you go, Rotarians. It's all about you. So that is now leads us into the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. If you'll join me, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? You guys can catch up, I'm sure. We go over the vision of Rotary around the world is together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. And that's what we do. Want to welcome all of our guests that are here with us this time. Looks like we have got a really good group of folks. Look at that list. And it's growing and growing and growing by the minute. So that's wonderful. All of you, welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming. This is a way that we can stay together in this weird time. And I really appreciate the extra effort that you make to join us either online or on the phone or whatever it is that you do. Let's talk about some good news. Anybody have any good news that you'd like to share? Anybody?
Hey, Brian, I've got something. This is Cotton.
All right, good.
Not sure if you can see my screen, but we are doing a virtual food drive with the Food Bank of Northeast Arkansas. So if you go to ait8.com/virtual food drive, there's a link there to donate. It'll run through this week, and here at the TV station, KAIT is matching up to $2,500 in donations.
Oh, that's excellent. That's
really looking for a way to give back during these unforeseen times. So KAIT8.com/virtual food drive.
Okay. That's great. I will, if I can't follow that link and send it out to the club, if anybody wants to participate, we can do that. Okay, it says audio has feedback. Let's see. If you can mute your line, unless you're talking, that would help. Maybe that will go away. Thank you, Marie, for that tip. Who else has good news?
I have a good news. Gregory
All right.
Hansen here. On Sunday, our family celebrated my mother's 99th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
She celebrated in Wisconsin, but we were able to connect here in Arkansas and do some other things, and it was really fun.
Was she on Zoom with you?
No, Facebook, and we actually kind of just sent stuff back and forth and had some nice flowers delivered for her. And she held it up at the window at her home, and we could wave at the bottom, and it was sort of like waving up to Rapunzel.
I love it. Excellent.
Yeah. For her, 90 is the new 70.
I agree. I agree. My frame of reference of what is old changed a lot. All right. Who else has good news?
Well, I will, since he mentioned his mother, my dear mother-in-law, Alice Campbell Clogston turned 88. She's in a memory care center in Little Rock. And so I set up a Zoom meeting. She has 6 children, adult children. I'm married to her oldest son. And so they're all scattered around, of course, and they have kids, and their kids have kids, and some of those kids have kids. Anyway, so y'all can check out my Facebook page. I have, it's a huge, it looks like a big Brady Bunch, and so then I recorded singing happy birthday to her, and but we had the guy from the memory care center brought in an iPad and held it so she could have some help. And anyway, so it was really fun, and we all shared stories, and just the kids, her adult kids, kind of went out in chronological order to wish her a special happy birthday. So anyway, that was fun.
That's great. I did see some of those screenshots, Jill, and it looked like you had to do several to get everybody in. So
I did. Some of the grandkids wouldn't stay in place with their parents, so we had to.
That's great. All right. Looks like we've got someone who's in the witness protection program down there next to Emily. It looks like ceiling fan. I can't see a face. I'm sorry, but we're glad you're here. Who else has good news? Anybody? Okay, let me see if I can move this. Can I move this? I can. Yay. All right, and then I can still do this. So we're talking about good news, and I just wanted to share this with you. If you haven't seen it yet, every Monday, John Krasinski, who was on The Office, produces this thing called Some Good News. And if you haven't seen it, you really should see it. It's phenomenal. He just does good stories, fun stories, things that will restore your faith in humanity, and it's really, really cool. So there's 5 episodes out so far. And he even did a virtual prom for the graduates of 2020. So I would encourage you. It's on YouTube and probably some other places, but I would encourage you to check it out. Some Good News with John. Anybody seen it? It's cool. All right. Well, we will move on to upcoming events. This is really kind of exciting, I think. I hope that you can join us next week. Instead of a noon meeting next week, we're going to try to have happy hour. It'll be at 5:30 on Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. You can come as you are, where you are. You can have a COVID teeny if you want, or a quarantini. Have your beverage of choice and whatever you'd like, but this is going to be something different that we try, and we will have a special guest, and that is Evan Burrell. You may have seen some of his Rotary stuff on Facebook. He's a Rotary social media expert, and he is in Sydney, Australia. And he's really, really energetic, and he will talk about, I think he's going to talk to us about how to engage young people into our club, and it's going to be pretty cool. So if you can join us, please do, and spread the word. I'm going to invite others in the district to participate in this as well. But Evan is a really cool speaker, and he's a lot of fun. And we're going to try this happy hour and see how it works. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you do too. Let's see here. Oh, now it's the real Lynn Howerton. I am excited as well to introduce a dear friend who is also a coworker. We bribed Lynn into using her talents and her training as a master's level social worker to come over to St. Bernard's Villa and help us with our memory care operations and the assisted living side of the house. And when Thursday, the panel that, or the program that Hatton moderated, Dr. Dillahay said, I really would encourage you Rotarians to schedule a program about how to cope with social isolation during this COVID time, because a lot of your members, they need help. And if not your members need help, they have people in their neighborhoods or in their churches or in their areas that could be suffering from some sort of isolation, and it's really lonely. So I took that to heart and said, who do I know that might be able to help us? And it's Lynn Howerton. And the joke is that we promoted your visit in the bulletin that comes out on Sunday night, and the picture that got attached to the publication was Dr. Lynn Howerton. Lynn Howerton. So we thought that was fantastic because he has a background in psychology, and I said, no, it's the daughter-in-law. So now I introduce the real Lynn Howerton to talk about social isolation.
I love it. All right. Well, I hope this will work. Brian pays for the internet here at the Villa, and I know that it is going in and out, so just so you know. But and also this lovely picture that you see, this is how my hair normally looks down below. This is the grown out version, so ladies will understand. So Brian, are you hearing me okay?
I can hear, yeah.
Okay, great. So like Brian said, he kind of asked me to just talk a little bit about the effects of social isolation and how it may be affecting our mental health. You know, a lot of us, or most of us, have never been through a pandemic. And so our brains and bodies are trying to process all these new changes. And so I believe our mental health is starting to suffer. Some of you saw the news where the doctor in New York committed suicide just from being on the front lines. You know, I think we're looking at a whole new PTSD that's going to be surfacing. I think we're going to start seeing some more social phobias coming up, a lot of anxiety. So I'm glad that you know, Brian invited me to talk about this. I do work here at the Villa, and so I have seen my fair share of anxiety amongst our staff. So I've really just been trying to focus in on them, and so I've learned a lot by watching them. You know, one thing we need to understand is everybody handles stress differently. So how I handle stress is going to be different from Brian, which is different from Sam or Marilyn. So things that I talk about, just, you know, if you're not feeling those feelings or emotions, it's okay. But everybody does it differently. So I feel like this pandemic has put us on an emotional roller coaster. And this has just been from the past month and a half. We've had, you know, some highs and lows and highs and lows and highs and lows. And so I kind of want to just review some of the things you may have been feeling, but you weren't really sure what it was or how to deal with it or cope with it. So I think probably the number one feeling that we all may have a little bit or a whole lot of is anxiety. You know, the anxiety of, are we going to catch the COVID-19? Will we catch this disease? I have found with my co-workers who had children, their anxiety is more toward, how am I going to teach my kids? you know, they're homeschooling, and now they have this responsibility of how am I going to teach them? You know, so that seems to be where a lot of their anxiety, not only, you know, catching the virus, but things at home. So that was something I never really thought about, but that was where a lot of their anxiety was happening. Then worry, you know, we sit and worry about our loved ones. Will our loved ones get the virus? Or how am I going to pay my bills? So many have lost jobs and had their hours cut. So a lot of worry attached with social isolation. Depression, you know, so social isolation, if you're not getting out, if you're not interacting, if you're not communicating, if you're just staying at home, we tend to start getting depressed. So we get tearful, we're eating more, we're sleeping more. And then because we don't know how long this is going to go on, we get in a deeper and darker space sometimes. So I think the longer this goes on, we're going to start seeing more depression, which can lead to suicide. So I think that's another mental health thing we've got to be aware of. When I say the word panic, Brian, what does the first thing what comes to your mind when you say panic? Toilet paper? Toilet paper. Did anyone other than myself have these feelings of panic? Like, will I ever be able to get hand sanitizer? Will I be able to get food? You know, the news is talking now about the food chain is breaking. You know, will we be able to get meat? So there's another emotion that's on our roller coaster of panic. Frustration. How many women right now are frustrated because they can't go to the beauty shop? They can't get their nails done. Brian is very frustrated. Even like my husband, he's very frustrated with the whole mask situation. He's like, I don't like wearing a mask. So a lot of frustration. Anger. You know, some people have been housed up with their spouse for like a month and a half. So, you know, we're getting on each other's nerves. I'll be interested to see the divorce rate if it spikes after this. You know, we're hearing about child abuse. You know, losing patience with our kids. You know, so a lot of anger. Another anger moment that I noticed on Facebook was the people sitting in line for the Kroger pickup and how long it was. So, you know, we're getting irritable, we're getting impatient. And then let's throw in a tornado. Let's throw in a tornado. So now we're adding fear to our roller coaster of emotions. You know, I don't know if anyone else is doing this, but we're looking at the weather a little closer now. You know, especially if there's a storm. You know, we're just, you know, let's just throw that in there. And probably one of the hardest ones right now is grief. Our whole culture of grieving has changed. And it's not just the death of a loved one or a friend. You know, just the loss of our celebration of Easter. That's a type of grief. These kids that are not going to have a graduation is a grief. Loss of job, grief, losing their homes for tornadoes, losing income, and just losing our ability to be able to interact. We're grieving, and that's very real. So just know that if you have had any of these feelings, just know that it is very normal. Embrace them, acknowledge them, because you're not the only one that's feeling those feelings. I'm a big believer of with every negative, we should have a positive though. And I think social isolation does have a few positives for some people. And some, I think, are, I hear mothers say, well, I've enjoyed being able to spend time with my kids, good quality time. Some people are getting a lot of home projects done at this time, things they needed to do. We, as humans, we sometimes get really tired, and so we have to unplug to re-energize. So I think this has been a time that we've been able to rest some, and because we don't have all the interactions and just all the stimulation around us to keep us wired and tired. So I think some people are getting a little energized from this isolation. Our calendars, I don't know if you've looked at your calendar, but I mean, it's pretty blank. It's been kind of nice being able to come home and know that you don't have a meeting to go to, or you have ball practice and here and there and everywhere. So it has offered some, relaxation for some. Another positive during this social isolation is some of us are learning new skills, like technology, like Zoom. Everybody seems to know what Zoom is now. We're having to learn this stuff to be able to communicate. It's a whole new way to communicate. So we're learning some new skills. People like me who usually eat out all the time, we're now at home cooking, which is really weird, but we're learning to cook. We're taking up new hobbies, and look at all the people that have been sewing masks. They're getting kind of a dual work out there. They're volunteering while in social isolation. I don't know why I can't say that, but they're also using their talent to help others. So that's a beautiful thing. I think we're becoming more resilient too. This is really, it's working on our mental ability to live through something hard, so it's making us more resilient. So when you take some of these negative feelings and positive feelings, sometimes you're just going to have a mixed bag. There's some days you're going to be anxious. Another day you're going to be like, hey, I love being at home. The next day you're going to be bored. 5 weeks later you're depressed. So it is a true roller coaster of emotions that we're going through during this pandemic in the social isolation. I think we are realizing now how social we really are and how engaged in the world we are. So that's been kind of a learning thing for me. It's all about balance. So if you are experiencing something negative and you're having negative feelings, try to find something that is positive to balance that out. But how are we coping with this? I know for myself, I'm eating more. I'm eating a lot of junk food and sugar and chips and comfort food. And I think a lot of people would agree that they're doing that as well. Sleeping more, or sleeping less. This pandemic has really affected our sleep because of our anxiety. My husband made the comment, he goes, boy, I sure am sleeping a lot. I must have really been tired. I'm like, no, I think you're probably depressed. So our sleep habits are changing. Gene Wing may be the reason that alcohol sales have increased by 55%. We're drinking more alcohol. So people are using that to cope. It's, we're helping small business, but it's probably not the best way to cope, but we're doing it. That's just how we're doing it. There's some misuse of prescription medications. If one Xanax is good, 2 is better, to try to help us get through this. So, that's probably not the most positive way to cope with this. I've noticed, and I don't know if anyone else has, but just aches and pains. I've been waking up with my hands and my wrists and elbows hurting, and I'm like, why is that happening? And so I think, and I'm waking up at night because I'm squeezing the pillow. And I think that's how anxiety kind of harbors into the body. So you may be having some headaches, neck aches, your digestive system may be a little messed up. That can be anxiety, but festering within your physical body. So just know that is normal. I had a sweet little aide come to me one day. She's like 18, and she said, I feel clammy, my chest is hurting, and my heart's kind of racing. She goes, do you think that is the coronavirus? And I said, no, I think you're having an anxiety attack. You know, it really, she didn't understand what those feelings, physical feelings were. So you may have experienced it and just didn't know what it was. So it's very real. Another way that we're coping, especially women, is online shopping. I don't know. Jill, anybody else? Anybody guilty of this? Brian? So a lot of online shopping. That's just a lot of our anxiety. Yes. So I did send Brian a handout. I think you emailed it to him. But I put in here a lot of different links to help with coping that you can read on your own. There are a lot of apps out there that you can use for anxiety, depression, mental. But on the second page, for those of you that have kids or grandkids, I have put the link on there for the COVID-19 time capsule. This is an activity that you could do with your kids or grandkids. This is a good way to open up conversation to find out if they've been experiencing any type of anxiety or depression or fear. Another thing that's worked well here at work with the staff is a lot of adult coloring. We're doing a lot of coloring pages. Especially mandalas, and mandala coloring, which is just the kind of, I don't even know what you call it, but it's anyway, it's real pretty. But you color, and the reason that it's good for anxiety is because it makes you focus. It makes you focus in the present moment. So we're doing a lot of those here. A lot of the staff is doing that. I've also added something that's called My Worry Jar, which is great for kids, and adults can do it too. But this is just something. It's a worry jar where they can write down their fears, or you can write down your fears, or anything that's on your mind. If you need a way to get it out, put it in the worry jar. So make sure to look at those. Another way to positively cope, get outside, soak in the sunshine, and get some fresh air. Because our air is probably better now than ever before with the lack of traffic. Take a walk. My husband and I, we've moved chairs to the front. Our entertainment is waving at the neighbors or walking the neighborhood and looking at the flowers. If we had to be isolated, this is a good time to be isolated, because if this had happened in the winter month, this would have really been bad, I think, on the whole human race. So take the moment, just to get outside, take a break from the house. And another thing to maybe help you feel better about this social isolation, create a moment of joy for somebody. Whether it's making a little extra food and taking it to your neighbor, or order flowers for somebody, send a card. These that are isolating alone are really struggling. There's a lot out there that does not, they don't use social media. And so, create a moment of joy for somebody, just, something that'll make them smile. So before I finish, just, as we transition back to what may be our new normal soon, take time to take inventory of yourself. What bad habits have you started during this isolation? Are you staying up till 2 in the morning and sleeping all day? Are you drinking at noon? Are you, let's see, what other things? Do you just feel more anxious? Are you short with your family more? Are you becoming violent? Check in with yourself and see where you are, and then bring awareness to yourself, and how am I going to start fixing those bad habits? Because we don't want you to carry those into our normal life again. You may need to ask yourself too, hey, I'm really getting depressed. I really have a problem with anxiety now. This is a good time to reach out to your doctor or to a mental health professional. Don't be embarrassed by this. This is affecting a lot of people. And so if you need a little help, it's okay. Think of this as a bruise to your mental health. This pandemic and social isolation is a bruise. And a bruise, as you know, changes different colors before it heals. So each color is probably going to represent a different fear, a different feeling of something positive, something negative. We all have a bruise right now, and it's going to take a little while to heal. So be kind to yourself. Do some self-care before we have to come out of isolation. And also don't be surprised if you start having a little social phobia when you're going into bigger crowds, because we haven't been. And so you may start feeling a little chest tightness or your heart palpitation or sweating, because we've been apart and out of big groups for so long. So just know that could happen. The same as your calendar starts to fill back up, you may start feeling a little anxiety for that. So just be good to yourself, be kind to yourself, good self-care. And I hope everyone will just get out and enjoy the sun. So breathe it in. So, all right, that is all.
Lynn, before you go, there's been a couple things in the chat box. Sharice Jones Branch recommends that she's been journaling every day, and that's been good for her. She's also been looking at painting sets at Walmart.
Good.
Ruth Hawkins says the good way to visit state parks, etc., and do jigsaw puzzles, and you can make your own puzzles. There's a link in the chat box, arkansas.com, blah, 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 whatever, about puzzles. And that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So take a snap of that before it goes away. That would be great. Okay. Sam recommends mulch. I cannot go along with that. That's not a good thing.
Buy it by the pallet.
Yeah. You talked about shopping and all that. Should a person be concerned if the Amazon truck just stops at your house all the time? And should you be concerned about your spouse if things like, a T-Rex costume or a unicorn costume or roller skates just start showing up at your house, asking for a friend?
No, I think I would be concerned when that person knows their FedEx delivery guy, UPS delivery guy, and mailman by first name basis, and when they're going to have lunch together after this is all over. So
If you get invited to their kid's wedding, you really know.
Yeah. There's a lot of great information out there, a lot of stuff on Pinterest. And like I said, I've put some links on that handout. But like I said, it take this time to just, learn who you are and learn your likes and dislikes and learn something new. And this can be a growing period for many, but also the credit card bill grows as well. Also.
Like when one buys rain boots for their dog, Ruth?
Yes, maybe.
Yeah,
They're cute.
They're cute.
I sent the attachments to the email that came last night, and I attached 4 of Lynn's things. I will find which 2 that I missed because I was afraid that it would get too big and wouldn't send. But I'll send the other things because she's got some really neat things to do, both for yourself and then with kids. So I'll make sure you get all of that. Anybody have any questions for Lynn?
Yeah, and it was funny that you brought up some good news. I put the some good news link on there too, so you're good.
Oh, good. Yeah. Anybody? Okay, going once, going twice. Thank you, Lynn. We appreciate your participation and thank you for all that you do in the community, in our community at work, and for volunteering to do this. This was very kind. Thank you.
Well, thank you for asking me, and everybody have a great rest of the day.
All right, and now that's Belle in the picture, right?
This is Belle, my therapy dog that is not allowed to come into the villa. That's been hard, Sam, because it's like this is when we need therapy most, and we can't bring the dogs in either.
No. Yeah, that's tough.
I'm having withdrawals. So
I understand.
I know it is on everyone. Dog.
Well, thank you.
All right,
so
thank
much.
you.
We will we'll meet again next week. Next week we will have Remotery episode 6 after hours. 5:30 on Tuesday afternoon, we'll have happy hour together, and 5:30 our time is actually 9:30 tomorrow morning in Sydney. So that's going to make it possible for Evan to join us, and I really hope that you'll come back because this guy's a hoot. He's a lot of fun, and he's got some really good ideas about what Rotary was, and could be. He joined a Rotaract club when he was 18, and he's been in Rotary or involved in Rotary for well over 20 years now. So kind of cool. Our thought for the day, and it's what's going on in Rotary now. We've got to keep the spirit of Rotary alive, even though we're not together every week. We do everything that we can, just trying to be together and to continue to serve our community. So Paul Harris, this founder of Rotary, he had a birthday on the 23rd of April. So happy birthday, Paul Harris. And everybody, if you've got anything else, we will make sure that you get reminders of the time change for next week, and hope that you will join us, and we will ring the bell.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you all. We're adjourned.